Cinema Business House. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, and you are in for a treat today because we have a legend in the public speaking business. Ms. Patricia Fripp is an award-winning speaker. She's a CSP, a CPAE, and she is a Cabot Award winner. Ms. Fripp, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate
My pleasure.
Now, Ms. Fripp, you coach a lot of business executives. Why is it so important for executives to understand how to speak in public?
Executives, when they speak, it affects their stock price. When executives speak, it can inspire their staff and sales team to work harder. And so often, my clients have in fact acquired companies. So at their sales meetings, when I help them, 40 to 60% of their employees might not have chosen to work for that company. I help them design their presentations so they know that all their associates and sales team are working for the right company at the right time with the right direction.
What do you think the biggest mistake is that people make in public speaking today, particularly business executives?
Most executives don't realize that their audiences, whether they work for them or their investors or part of their outreach for their business reputation, is that we need to see the person behind the title. So it's the person behind the position. So that means they need to tell personal stories. So people get an insight. For example, one of my clients who had 40+% who had not chosen to work for them, they'd been acquired. When he was talking about strategy, I said, Bernard, when did you first realize the importance of strategy? And he said, when I was a 14-year-old ball boy before the French Open. Well, how interesting. And so we developed this great story about how he was equally matched with his opponent and how the ball boy in that case was a girl. It was his friend's sister was sabotaging his game, and how he had to think through to win when they were equally matched. So I said, well, not only is that memorable and interesting, it gives confidence that this man has been studying strategy his entire life. The second major mistake people make, especially executives, is that they start designing their presentation in PowerPoint. The creative process is messy. You take what might go in your presentation, and what I do with executives, I don't write their speeches for them, but I sit down and I ask them questions in a logical order. I pull the words out of their mouths, polish them up and put them back in, say it this way. So we conversationally write this speech. Now when we've written this speech, then we ask, where do you need a PowerPoint to dramatize or visually describe what you're doing? So anyone, no matter what their level, if you start your presentation by, let's look at the slide deck, you are probably killing the impact of fundamentally what could be a good speech. So there are two of the mistakes. There are many. That's why business is good.
Now, there's never been a more important time than now for executives to get their speech, their message across to their teams. Tell us about that.
If you look at the economy in 2010, which is recovering, but there was never a more important time that executives need to represent their company well, give their customers, their shareholders, and their suppliers a positive, upbeat, but realistic message. And you are going to say more with fewer words. So even if it's sound bites or press releases, and more of my clients now have internal meetings. So their associates all over the world are watching their own company TV, and they're giving presentations. And if you think with YouTube, there are a lot of ways that you can get your message to your customers and shareholders. So there's never been a more important time, and because we are so saturated, we are stimulation junkies with short attention spans, we are used to being entertained, and so executives need to get a message across in an entertaining way, not sit and read a speech that somebody else wrote for them.
Say there are three important ingredients to a speech. What are those?
The three ingredients that go into every speech, formal, informal, long, short, to 5 or 5,000. It's the structure of how you put it together, the content, that is what you say, and then there's the delivery. So very often when people work with a speech coach, they think it's going to be gestures, how you stand, eye contact, all very important. But there's no point polishing a fundamentally flawed script that has a bad structure.
You talk about, in one of your speeches, about the biggest unconscious goof that people make in speeches. Tell us about that.
The unconscious goof that ruins anybody's credibility is sloppy language. This is the Frippicism. We need to speak with specificity. Specificity builds credibility. So if you talk about, I hate to say it, STUFF stuff, you ruin your credibility. People talk about their products, which might cost $200,000 as what I would say debris. You talk to professional speakers and consultants, and what did you do for IBM? I gave them my best debris. I won't even say the word to reinforce it. And I say, no, you got paid your fee for innovative ideas, 20 years experience, leading edge technologies or strategies. Use specific words. In Silicon Valley, you look out at most audiences, and although they might speak exceptionally good English, very few are perhaps native English-speaking people. If you do not use specific language, people cannot understand exactly what you say. They might understand in the context, but not in isolation. So we need to use very specific language, which means you drill it into everyday conversation so it goes with you into your more important boardroom or keynote presentations.
Ms. Fripp, why do you put so much focus on the opening of a speech?
The opening of a speech I compare to the opening of a movie, which is called the flavor scene. And the opening is how you are going to flavor the presentation. It's one thing, for example, here we're at the National Speakers Association in Georgia, and people have paid their money, dressed up, inconvenienced themselves, and gone to a meeting when they could have stayed in bed or taken their family out. They are an anxious, eager, willing audience. However, many of our audiences, they are there because they have to be, or they're at the conference whether you're speaking or not. So one, we are foreshadowing, is this going to be good or not? And in the day of technology, when people are actually checking their BlackBerry while you're starting to speak, we have to grab their attention, help them realize this is going to be good, so we can get their attention. Now, you might not hold it, but you certainly need to get their attention at the beginning. So that is why I'll always say to a professional speaker or an executive, what's your opening line? It boggles my mind. The speech is tomorrow. You've got 6,000 of your clients, and you don't know how you're going to start. Opening of a presentation, the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds have the most impact. Come out punching, and your last words linger.
And you've been a speaker, a public speaker for over 20 years, very successful. Now here we are in 2010. How is this?
There has never been a better time to be in the speaking, training, consulting business.
Why is that?
Because one, so many people have decided business is bad and stopped trying and gone fishing. However, now let's look at the ingredients to make it the best time ever. One, you have to have superb expertise, whether you're a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a consultant. Two, your marketing has to be as good as your services. And the internet is God's gift to speakers, consultants, small business people, entrepreneurs, as well as corporate America.
To express our heartfelt thanks to Ms. Patricia Fripp for interviewing with us today. We have really enjoyed her wisdom, her insight, and her expertise.